Hey folks, this is Matt with Creative Discomposure, and this is part 2 of my custom tombstone build. The two 1-inch thick panels are now glued together with a PVC pipe sandwiched inside. I will be doing some fill work on the edges and the seams, but first let's draw out our scalloped edge. Now I have a template for my smaller tombstones, but for the larger ones I just use this 12-inch diameter circle. So first I'm going to mark the center of the top. And then I'm going to trace a line around about half of that circle. Now measuring 12 inches down each side and lining up the circle as I did with the top, I trace the circle again, causing an intersection with those previous lines. And there you have it, a scallop design. And now it's time to cut. You can use a variety of tools like a hot knife or different types of blades. I like the drywall saw for this particular application. No, don't stab your foam with it. Guide it along the line, letting the teeth do the work as you saw. Hey, those cutouts kind of look like bat wing shapes. Wonder what I can do with those. I have to think about that later. Anyway, now it's time for the palm sander. What we're going to do is smooth down those edges, and we're going to give it more of a natural stone pitted type of look. Now it's time to fill in all of our lines. Spackle and a good putty knife are going to work well for this. So spackle or joint compound? Well, joint compound is thinner, takes about 24 hours to dry, and it shrinks. Spackle is thicker, dries in about 30 to 45 minutes, and it doesn't shrink. So we're going to use spackle to fill in all of those edges and all of those seams. Now my client wants COCO on the tombstone, but I don't want to use any logo or any copyrighted designs. So luckily, I did find someone who created a font based on those COCO letters, and we can use that. So using my Cricut, I have sized the letters, I've set up the stencil material, cut the stencil, and we're going to apply that to the tombstone. So I'm using my Sharpie to highlight the edges of the letters because I really only need to see just the edges. Now we're going to place a sugar skull face for a quick tracing, and after that, it's going to be time to remove some of this material. Again, using my palm router and square bit, I'm going to set the bit to 1/4 inch depth, and the letters and the skull recesses are created. So after some quick cleanup and reapplication of spackle where that seam goes through the letter O, it's going to be time to glue in that skull face. Now we're going to use the same adhesive, trying to spread it evenly across the back of the skull with a popsicle stick. We're going to place it inside of that recess and put a heavy weight over it so it can dry overnight. So the next day, the O is sanded and the word COCO is painted in a flat black. Using some of that pink snow mixed with foam glue, I detail the edge of the skull face. And after it dries, it's time to age this tombstone. I use the spray water and blowtorch method. You mist water onto the foam, and then you use the torch over the surface to give the foam a pitted look of worn stone. So here's our foam. Already sprayed it down with a little bit of water. We're going to turn on the gas. Woo! One shot. Now we're going to hold the foam here, and we're just going to go lightly around it. Completely off. And take a look at how that comes out. It's where I was holding on to it, that's why there's nothing there. But pretty good effect. Once you put some paint over the top of that and put some dry brushing over the top of that as well, it really makes a really great effect. After we age the back and the front, now it's time for paint. I use Drylock, which is a masonry waterproofing latex paint. Notice how those seams all disappear? One coat on the back, and then all the sides. Oh, And don't forget to run your brush around the front edge to eliminate any buildup or drips that may happen. We're going to let this first coat dry for about 2 hours, and then we're going to do a second coat. Now, painting around these letters can be a little tricky, so I use a stippling technique to avoid getting a bunch of paint inside the black. Now, it's still going to happen though, so we're just going to touch up with a little bit more black, and we should be good to go. Now for some additional aging. The first color I use is green. I mix about 2 cups of water with some paint and using a plastic whisk to dilute that paint through the water. This will give the tombstone a mossy kind of a background. Next, raw or burnt umber for dirt using the same technique. Now when you apply the liquid, start at the top and just let it run down. Finally, black. Now remember, a little goes a long way, so don't make it too dark. After these 3 coats are dry, this tombstone looks like it's been around for a while. Now it's time for highlights. When you dry brush, you need to put a little bit of paint on your brush, and then you need to get most of that paint off so that your brush is mostly dry. Dry brushing white over the tombstone brings out the edges, the deeper pot marks, and the highlights of the sugar skull. The color also gives it that cement stone look. So there you have it, one custom-made tombstone for my client. I really hope they like it. And I hope you liked this video. This is Matt with Creative Discomposure. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and remember, no matter what you do in life, be curious, learn, and be interesting.